Right now, a movement is taking shape here in Brazil that is using a 90-year-old law to turn over 1 million hectares of degraded land into a nature paradise. If successful, it would bring back Brazil's forgotten savanna, restore an over 2,000-kilometer-long river, and create a corridor for a mind-blowing variety of wildlife. So we sent Rishala into the heart of the Cerrado to meet the team behind this genius solution. They're partnering directly with farmers to connect islands of isolated forest, unlocking one of the largest nature restoration potentials in the world, and turning this into this. We're Planet Wild. Welcome to Mission 37.
This is the world's most underrated ecosystem. It holds 5% of all plant and animal species, and you probably haven't even heard of it.
This place is absolutely magical. Like, I don't even know where to look.
I'm talking, of course, about the Cerrado.
Oh, what was I about to say? Sorry, I got distracted by the fact that there's macaws that are just flying there.
The Cerrado is the most biodiverse savanna on the planet. Sorry, Africa. It sits just beneath the Amazon, and it's where giant anteaters, maned wolves, rare birds, trees, and insects live side by side. Many of them found nowhere else on Earth. To be honest, it was even a bit hard for me to focus on doing my job.
Whoa! Look at this! What is this guy?
Everywhere I looked, there was something unique. Just look at this forest, for example. When you stand in front of it, you can feel this buzz in the air. It's truly a surreal experience.
Oh my gosh, look at that. That's a jaguar's footprint. Can you see that there's 3 lobes? 1, 2, 3 on the pad? That's a cat. That's a jaguar. It's so wild.
But the thing is, if you zoom out, you'll see that this forest is actually totally disconnected. It's basically an island in an ocean of farms.
Look at this. It's all soybean. We've been driving for a while and there's a lot of soybean.
In just the past 50 years, more than half of the Cerrado has been deforested. Putting that in perspective, that's twice the size of Germany. The rapid expansion of soy production has placed enormous pressure on the Cerrado and its biodiversity. And while the world has been focused on protecting the Amazon, much of that deforestation simply relocated south to the Cerrado, where legal protections are weaker. But blaming the farmers would be short-sighted, because we're dealing with a global issue of food demand by a growing population, putting enormous pressure on land use worldwide, with 80% of the soy being used as animal feed. And in fact, as we're about to learn, the farmers in the Cerrado are working harder than most to mitigate food production and biodiversity needs, which is crucial because without the Cerrado, the Amazon is at risk as well, and the biggest water system on the continent could collapse. Let me explain. In the Amazon, trees act like giant water pumps. They suck up water from the soil and breathe it out through their leaves, releasing around 20 trillion liters of water into the air every single day. This creates so-called flying rivers that drift across South America until they reach the Cerrado, where that water is released. And when it rains, it pours. But this is where the Cerrado does something extraordinary. Native plants here have extremely deep roots. These break up the soil, making it full of tiny holes, and turns the savanna into a giant sponge. The sponge absorbs all that life-giving water, stores it in underground reservoirs, and slowly releases it into springs and rivers that flow back towards the Amazon, where the cycle starts again. But now, so much of the Cerrado is gone. And look at the difference. Native Cerrado plants can dig their roots 18 meters down, but the average soybean root is just 1 to 1.5 meters. Because of this, we can already see the warning signs that the water cycle is breaking down.
O rio está secando e o pessoal não está percebendo, porque nessa época eu ia lá para minha roça, eu já entrava de canoa lá dentro. E agora não, ainda vou de pé, por dentro da mata, e vou.
If we don't do anything, and the farms continue to expand, both the Cerrado and the Amazon could eventually dry up. But there is a movement happening here in Brazil to activate an old law that could transform the most degraded parts of the Cerrado into a huge biodiversity corridor. This is exactly the kind of genius solution that we love at Planet Wild. Every single month, we crowdfund to support projects like this, and then we explain here on YouTube how they work. So here's how it works. There is a law in Brazil that requires every rural landowner to protect and restore native vegetation on a percentage of their land. Where we are in the Cerrado, it's 35%. In the Amazon, 80%. Sounds great, right? Well, here's the thing. Firstly, it's not well enforced, but also most farmers are not restoration experts. And for many, it's easier to just pay the fines than to take the time and effort to comply with the law. Unless there's somebody there to help them. This is Lais from the Black Jaguar Foundation. They partner with farmers to restore degraded parts of their land, and piece by piece, the vision comes to life. Their ultimate plan is to connect all of these restored patches of land, creating a 1 million hectare continuous chain, stretching for 2,600 kilometers along one vital river.
What we're doing here and in other farms is seeing these patches of forest that we still have and trying to connect them with our restoration sites. So bringing this connectivity, that's why we call the corridor.
Lais is an agricultural engineer who left her life in Sao Paulo to dedicate herself to this mission. She now works at the center of it all, connecting farmers and local communities with the restoration effort. If successful, this will be one of the biggest reforestation projects the world has ever seen. And there's two genius things about this plan. But first, for this mission, we're teaming up with Ecosia, and they're sharing this video over on their channel too. Ecosia is the search engine that plants trees. And I'm not just saying that. So far, they've planted more than 240 million trees globally, including 2 million here in the Cerrado. When you search with Ecosia, the ad revenue goes directly into responsible reforestation projects, including projects like this one. So it's a no-brainer. You can switch your default search engine to Ecosia at the link in the description. Okay, where were we? Genius thing number one. This whole chain is being created along one river, the Araguaia. This not only gives us a natural corridor to follow that connects the Cerrado and the Amazon, but focusing the restoration around a river helps the groundwater and biodiversity to recover much faster than it normally would. Genius thing number two. On farms, the best soils get the crops, and historically degraded land like this is often used for pasture. Now, this is kind of perfect for the Black Jaguar Foundation, because it means they don't take away productive crops from farmers. And the farmers are now complying with the law. It's a win-win situation. So, now that we have the farmers on board, it's time to get to work. And it all starts with this. Step one. With a network of 120 seed collectors and counting, we gather hundreds of thousands of seeds from more than 80 different native tree species. Step two, we bring those seeds here to the heart of Black Jaguar's operation. This is the nursery. With such a big vision, you need a lot of trees.
Now we have the potential to have at least 500,000 seedlings per year.
Whoa, how long is this root?
This little seedling is 2 months old, and already it's so much longer than this grass. This is going to make its way down into the ground, so when rain comes, it follows these channels, and the further and further down it goes, it starts to fill aquifers, and those aquifers start to feed the rivers. This is what we need in the Cerrado. This is the Cerrado. Step three. Once the seedlings are ready, it's go time. Tiny trees are now planted into degraded pasture. The Planet Wild community, together with Ecosia, is supporting the restoration of 30 hectares of degraded land, plus 3 full years of monitoring to track how the Cerrado and the wildlife comes back. So places that looked like this will soon look like this. And the crazy thing is that wildlife cameras at these restoration sites show us clearly that the plan is working, and incredible wildlife is already coming back along this corridor.
Black Jaguar Foundation has planted at least 2 million trees already. Putting the trees on the ground is actually like the end of at least a year of work. So it feels nice to see that the trees actually grow and they are forming a forest.
And it's not just benefiting nature, it's changing lives too. The project is creating meaningful work for local communities, from seed collectors to nursery staff to tree planters. For many, it's a step into stable income after being excluded from the formal job market. So as the forest begins to grow back, so does the community.
The plan right now is to finish the corridor within 2 decades. And this is only going to be possible with a lot of patience, persistence, and people who refuse to give up. Every new stretch of forest will bring back water to the soil, return species to their natural habitat, and breathe life back into places that were lost. If you want to support projects like these, consider joining Planet Wild as a backer. Every month, we go on a mission to bring back endangered species, clean up our oceans, and rewild entire landscapes. And it's all community funded. As a backer, you're directly supporting organizations at the front lines of nature protection. And you can see your impact with your own eyes here on our channel. To become part of this, follow the QR code over here or the link down in the description. Thank you all for watching. Over and out.